So are we starting with?
I'm sorry.
No, it's
Obeisance.
with obesity.
Manjushri.
Obesity. All right.
Which one?
No, I think it's probably, the lighting at the Gompa is so bad that my face is.
You want the light next to you, closer to you, because it's very dark.
All right, I can do it. Maybe.
You have it down. See that and actually banner stops those lights reflecting. Oh, okay. Is it better? As well. We don't know yet because we can't see.
Let's see.
Isn't it?
I think it's slightly better.
Yeah, that's all it is. It is. That's
Wow.
information.
From darkness to light.
Mm.
All right. Let's open the prayers, if I found them. So we're doing prayers to Manjushri, right?
Yes.
Page 12.
Obeisance to
Guru Manjushri holds in his heart
symbolic of his sin.
on things as they are, whose understanding shines forth,
Unclouded by defilements, traces of humanity.
who teaches in 60 ways and relations of love of Father for his only Son, all creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused by love, overwhelmed by their suffering. Use whose dragon thunder proclamation of the Dharma arises from the stupor of our delusions and frees us from the iron chains of our karma. Whose powerful sword of wisdom shoots out suffering wherever its brows appear, clearing away the darkness of all ignorance. I entreat you, O Manjushri, princely body, is adorned with the 112 marks of a Buddha, who has completed the 10 stages, achieving the highest perfection of a Bodhisattva, who has been pure from the beginning. O Manjushri, O loving one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind. Enlighten my intelligence and wisdom so I may gain insight and words in the texts that explain them. Choda Tsogi Chonam La, Chanchu Badu Dane Kyam Suchi, Dagi Chushigi Betsonagi, Drola Penchi Sangye Dopasho. Choda Tsogi Chonam La, Chanchu Badu Dane Kyam Suchi, Dagi Chushigi Betsonagi, Drola Penchi Sangye Dopasho. Choda Tsogi Chonam La, Chanchu Badu Dane Kyam Suchi, Dagi Chushigi Betsonagi. Dola Benchi Sangye Dopasho. All right, good afternoon. So one thing that I forgot to say yesterday in relation to the first exam was that I made a mistake in the first question. I'll put it on the screen and just let you see it. So just a second, where is it? All right. So I'll put it on the screen. All right, so in the first question, I asked you to complete the following table, the division of the bodies of Buddha. And here, instead of adventitious purity, I mistakenly wrote complete purity, right? So I wrote complete purity. I looked at this exam a few times, kind of trying to pull out mistakes that I've made. And I, for some reason, kind of didn't see that mistake. Only when I started marking the exam, I saw that instead of adventitious purity, I wrote complete purity. I thought that it might have confused some people that have had to fill in the table. So I decided that all that section of the table, with the essence kaya, the Dhamma, exalted knowledge Dhammakaya, if I thought that people were too confused about it, I just gave them full marks. So apologies for that. So what I wanted to do today, first of all, we had some questions. I had some questions from Mr. Chris Gwynn. So I'll start with them. Then I wanted today finish the benefits of the engaging and inspiring man of enlightenment, and then quickly move on to look at the structure of chapter number 2 and chapter number 3, just so that we have a head start in. People here?
I wouldn't use wrong as the word. I mean, it's not great.
Well, is it a correct consciousness? Is it correct to cherish yourself?
No.
Is it wrong to cherish yourself?
Yeah, I think it's wrong.
So some people say that they think that it's wrong.
It's the source of all our problems, isn't it?
So source of all of our problems. All right, so to begin with, what about Hinayanist that search the own state of liberation for their own sake alone? Is that wrong to look for your own state of liberation for your own sake alone? So you said no, right? So what about people at home? Is it mistaken? Is it wrong to seek the state of liberation for your own sake alone? So Christine says no. Jason says no. So indeed you would say that, I think that you would say that it cannot be a wrong consciousness, because then, according to the Mahayana presentation, coming at least from the school of thought of from the College of Seraje Monastery, here's and sort of realizes still have an attitude of cherishing themselves, because they seek the state of liberation for their own sake alone. Since they haven't developed a self-cherishing, they have developed the consciousness of cherishing others or great compassion in that sense. They're still said to have some degree of cherishing themselves. So since arhats have completely abandoned all ignorance, all afflictive states of mind, all wrong consciousnesses, it's hard to maintain that it is a wrong consciousness. But you can go further than that. You can say that when you describe what self-cherishing is, there is not like a dictionary definition of what it is. There's not like a Bible definition of what self-cherishing is. So, but we do have descriptions, right? So for example, we have a self-cherishing thought or attitude which considers itself to be more important than others, right? That my happiness is more important than others' happiness. So that is actually a wrong consciousness, to think that my happiness is more important than others, that my purpose is more important than others. It is a degree of self-cherishing that is wrong. So in that sense, before, when we had discussions about it with Geshe Tsiring, it says that you can almost say that there are two types of self-cherishing. There is a negative sense of self-cherishing, and there's one that is not negative. You cannot call it a positive type of self-cherishing because it would be weird. But the negative one would be to think that it's okay to accomplish your own happiness at the expense of others. It's all right to accomplish your own happiness even if others are harmed, because your happiness is more important than others. So that's a self-cherishing mind that is wrong. Right? So that's a wrong consciousness. But then seeking your own state of liberation for your own sake alone, without cherishing others, cannot be said to be a wrong consciousness, because here is inside to realize that arhats have abandoned all wrong consciousnesses, but they still have that. So that's the Seraje monastery position. But when you look at that from the viewpoint of Drepung monastery, and we already had some discussions showing that there are actually different positions when you look at different monasteries, Gelugpa monasteries. So according to Drepung monastery, self-cherishing consciousness is a wrong consciousness, which means that they if you draw parallels, or if you kind of try to bring together Seraje Monastery and Drepung Monastery, it seems that the bed self-cherishing that Seraje Monastery or Geshe String spoke of which is the one that thinks that my happiness is more important than others. It's all right to accomplish my own happiness at the expense of others. It's that wrong consciousness, that afflictive states of mind that Drepung Monastery takes. I don't know if all Drepung Monastery, but let's say Drepung Losali, I think. Now, to accomplish one's own happiness for one's own sake alone, maybe it's not going to be regarded as a self-cherishing mind according to Drepung Monastery. It is according to Seraje, but maybe not according to Drepung. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll need to have a Drepung scholar and have a debate with him. Chukila?
Well, I was going to say maybe it isn't regarded as such by Drepung Monastery, because if his holiness is following Drepung Monastery, he talks about being wisely selfish.
Yeah.
So that would seem to indicate, that would indicate that it's the way it is defined is differently. It's not defined as a.
Yeah, so you said that kind of his honor says that if you want to be selfish, then be wisely selfish, and cherish others. So it's in that kind of, therefore, since his honor seems to be associated mainly with the Drepung Losling Monastery, then it seems to maybe have a different explanation, a slightly different explanation of what self-cherishing is. But also to that, we can also add that recognition that here's in order to realize is meditate on the four immeasurables. So, in sometimes when we think of Hinayanis or Hinayana followers, and we say that they do not develop the state of the mind of enlightenment, they do not develop an attitude of cherishing others. It seems to be that they're totally selfish. However, when we think of how would be a Hinayana practitioner that is a truly genuinely good practitioner, the one that has entered the Hinayana path, they meditate on the four immeasurables, right? This is a meditation that is shared with Hinayanis. So they meditate on, may immeasurable sentient beings have happiness. May immeasurable sentient beings be free from suffering. So of course they develop loving kindness and compassion to others. It's not maybe included all sentient beings. It's not inclusive of all sentient beings. They speak about innumerable or immeasurable sentient beings. So therefore, of course, they have a great degree of cherishing other living beings. And if you were to encounter a really genuine Hinayana practitioner, then in no way they would consider their own happiness to be more important than other living beings.
To me, but there's a big distinction between selfishness and self-cherishing. And I think in all the things that we just said then, it depends on how you say it, what you mean by it, what it actually refers to, as to whether it's really self-cherishing or selfishness that really mean.
So you say that so you said that to you there's a difference between selfishness and self-cherishing. So now I think that probably according to that explanation, or according to our discussion, maybe we can draw a distinction between them. But to begin with, it needs to be clear to you, what's the meaning of selfishness, and what's the meaning of self-cherishing. So I guess that selfishness would be to think that your own happiness is more important than others. That it's all right to accomplish your own happiness, even if it comes at the expense of others. That would be selfish.
Because it comes down to your intention. Because if you put the selfish mind, the intention is that I want more chocolate because I love chocolate.
That's me.
That's selfish. That's selfish.
Yeah, I am selfish with chocolates.
The self-cherishing way would be, I will take it so you don't have to burden yourself with the chocolate.
Yeah, I'm taking one for the team.
I'm taking the good dark chocolate for the team.
Yeah,
that's me. Madhu?
So, also we can look at the definition of wrong consciousness. So that will help us to give us some perspective.
So a wrong consciousness is a consciousness that engages its object erroneously. which means that a wrong consciousness takes a non-existent and is as its object, right? So it takes something that doesn't exist as its object. So it's erroneously engages its object.
So self-cherishing, sorry, it's erroneous because there is no self in there. I don't know what is the Tibetan version of self-cherishing.
Well, there is no definition of self-cherishing that you can get in a Buddhist text, or at least not one that we've encountered. So we can only suffice with descriptions, explanation that we have had so far. I think that so far, the explanation. Do you have, Chukla, maybe another explanation apart from thinking that your own happiness matters more?
Well, I did say you'd be elaborating, like you said, that it's the wrong consciousness side is that your object is wrong. So on top of innate self-grasping, it's superimposition on top of that of cherishing yourself that doesn't exist in the first place. So it's like you've elaborated on top.
Well, all of our, so Chukla is right in saying that it would be on top of our self-grasping mind. So self-cherishing and self-grasping, ignorance of self-grasping are working hand in hand. In the text, the mind training, the will of sharp weapons, we want to break that link between self-cherishing and self-grasping, right? So, jump on the head of this ruinous conception. Sometimes we say, sometimes we're getting at self-cherishing, sometimes we're getting at self-grasping. But all afflictive states of mind are based on ignorance, which means that we have to begin with ignorance of grasping at a self. So it superimposes inherent existence onto the self. It ascribes or it grasps it an inherently existing self. So that's a wrong consciousness, right? It's a wrong consciousness in that an inherently existing self doesn't exist. So it takes a non-existent as its object. That's an erroneous consciousness. On that basis arises an improper mental attention, incorrect mental attention. So it either superimposes positive qualities, it exaggerates positive qualities, or it denies. Sorry. You can say that it superimposes positive or negative qualities. So likewise, you can say that it denies either positive qualities or negative qualities. So it's not in line with reality. There is an exaggeration in that mind, and then attachment arises, or anger arises. So they become wrong consciousnesses in their exaggeration of positive qualities, in their exaggeration of negative qualities. But that's just in general, the general discussion. I think that when you look particularly at anger and attachment and so forth, and work out how they're wrong consciousnesses, you have to probably come up with something that is more precise. So there's a couple of questions here. So do they have self-cherishing within a perceptual realization of emptiness? Here's so first of all, when I hear Arya, which means to hear on the path of seeing, on the path of meditation, perceptually realizes emptiness, the only consciousness that is manifest at that point is a perceptual realization of emptiness. So they do have, you could say, from the point of view of Selaja Monastery, you would say that they have still self-cherishing in the mind stream. It's not manifest because the only consciousness that is manifest during a perceptual realization of emptiness of a hearer, or you can say also solitary realizer, is perceptual realization of emptiness. No other consciousness, conventional consciousness, can become manifest. But then when they rise into post-attainment session, which means in between perceptual realization of emptiness, when they do other stuff, they meditate on impermanence, on the four immeasurables, they brush their teeth, they go to the loo, they could still have self-cherishing minds manifest, but it's the positive form of self-cherishing. It's not a negative one that thinks that their happiness surpasses or is more important than the happiness of others. So I thought that if any suffer, we all suffer. Can't contextualize that. Then Jane is saying, cherishing others does not mean neglecting yourself. True. So self-grasping is a wrong consciousness which engages its object erroneously. So there are two questions here. So cherishing others does not mean neglecting yourself. It does not mean totally neglecting yourself, but when you look at the practice of equalizing, exchanging self with others, there is a particular way that we speak about the practice. So we say that so far we have cherished ourselves and neglected others. Now we're going to change position. We're going to cherish others and neglect ourselves. Now, the meaning of neglecting ourselves would mean to consider others' happiness to be more important than my happiness. It doesn't mean to say that we neglect ourselves in a sense that we stop taking care of our physical well-being or take care of our mind. No, we still take care of our physical well-being because we have a precious human body with freedoms and opportunities that enables us to push ahead with the practice, right? To secure good rebirths in future lifetimes, to work towards a state of liberation, and finally, towards a state of enlightenment. So we do not neglect our well-being, but we consider others' happiness to be more important than my happiness, other purpose to be more important than my purpose. In that sense, we neglect ourselves. So then the second question is, so self-grasping is a wrong consciousness which engages its object erroneously. That's spot on, Jane. Self-grasping is a wrong consciousness. It engages its object erroneously because it takes a non-existent self and it adheres to it as if it exists, right? So it grasps at an inherently existent self. An inherently existent self doesn't exist, therefore it engages its subject erroneously. So that's the first part of Chris's question. The second part was, by taking a vow and attending an engaging mind, lots of obstacles are purified and merit obtained, even while sleeping or being unconscientious. Could some people interpret this that therefore, as long as I've taken the vow, I can now get intoxicated and party on and have a jolly good samsaric life, thinking having taken the vow, they will be ensured of a good rebirth? I think that probably it is possible for people to think about it, because otherwise, because after all, the afflictions that we as people and living beings have are limitless. We have limitless wrong ideas and wrong understanding. So it is possible that someone would think like that, but obviously, if you have taken the engaging vow, and then you think that I can do whatever I want because I'll still be accumulating merit, then you'll be digging your own grave, basically, digging your own future life grave. But that brings me to the question that sorry?
There's wrong motivation, it's the wrong intent.
Yeah, there's a wrong motivation, wrong intent. Wangmo is saying, Yeshe. Yeshe Wangmo? Yeshe Wangmo. Yeshe, all right. So yesterday we left off in kind of me saying that maybe we can think of what it would mean like to still be accumulating merit, even when you're unconscientious, in the case that you have the engaging vow. So I'm wondering if you have any ideas of what it means, how does it work? So Steve is saying, when we take the Bruce Highway as our path, we remain on that path regardless of the awareness we have. In the same way, when we take the path of the engaging mind, the consciousness remains on that path regardless of the awareness they have by the power of merit. Chris is saying, I guess it works on a very subtle level. More explanations?
If you don't continue to accumulate virtue and practice ethical behavior, was it the Buddhist path? Yeah. I mean, you could say, I'm on the Buddhist path, but you don't actually engage the Buddhist path, then you say your own person.
Well, Steve said that in the same way, when we take the path of the engaging mind, in a sense that when you take, because one of the benefits of the engaging vow, the engaging man of enlightenment, the engaging man of enlightenment was that once you have it in, even while you're asleep or being unconscientious, you still accumulate an uninterrupted flow of merit.
And that goes for any vow. That goes for any vow.
I'm not sure that that goes for any vow. I'm not sure that it was stated for example, the refuge vow. Was it stated? I'm not saying that it's not possible, but have we come across a scripture reference saying that even with the refuge vow?
I would assume. Well, I mean, isn't that the whole point of a vow? We have the Mahayana vows, and they're taken for 24 hours. The refuge vow is taken for all of this. But you were discussing that a bit in the tubes, that the Bodhisattva vows is a vow that you take in tantric vows. They are vows that you take and are still in place in future lives.
No, I didn't say are still in place. I said you take for
Future lives.
But what Geshe said, if it hasn't degenerated.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I
and I
didn't
guess
say
that's, yes.
So actually, that's also something good to include in the discussion. So, so for those of you who've taken the refuge vow, I don't know if you remember your ceremony, but in the repetition that you do, you said, "I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha from this time on and for the rest of my life," which means that once you die, if you still have the vow, if it hasn't degenerated, then the vow is relinquished once you die. That's with the refuge vow. It's the same thing for the ordination vow. You take ordination for as long as you're alive, until the point of death. When you die, the vow is relinquished. With the Bodhisattva vow and the mantra vow, can't remember the wording of the mantra vow, but at least with the Bodhisattva vow, the commitment that you make is until I reach the heart of enlightenment. Which means that if you die without having relinquished the vow, or with the vow hasn't been cancelled from your mind stream, in the sense that you can relinquish bodhicitta, therefore the vow has been cancelled, or you can develop wrong views. That's also a case for the relinquishing of the vow, or one of the other 16 root downfalls when the 4 binding factors are present, right? That would be a case of the vow degenerating. So if that happens to you, then you die and the vow does not proceed to future lifetime. But if the vow hasn't degenerated, which means that you're a really amazing Mahayana practitioner, really kind of sincere, amazing Mahayana practitioner, then the vow will be in your mind stream, continue with you to your future life, and hopefully you will meet again a Mahayana spiritual teacher and continue to build up. So
I think for all of us here, you could make that supposition. We have all received, we might not have enough, we have all received, chances are we've all received the Bodhisattva vows in the past.
Well, the chances that we have encountered the Mahayana, probably there's a great chance that we've received the vow, but I'm not sure that there is a chance that we have kept it clearly without the 4 binding factors coming together. I mean, when you look at the 18 root downfalls, some of them are pretty easy to incur. Praising myself and belittling others, not sharing my wealth or the Dhamma. That's pretty easy.
I'm not saying we've kept it squeaky clean.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we have.
Even Stephen.
I'm just saying we have probably received them in the past.
Yeah.
That's why we have them again, to try and improve on our past efforts. Yeah.
So anyway, let's get back to the topic. So by taking the vow and attending engaging mind, lots of obstacles are purified. All right. So the question was, what's the deal with being unconscientious and still accumulating merit? So it seems that the idea is that, I think like many of you said, and also probably the people at home have said and think about it in a similar way, that even when you're being unconscientious, in a sense that the example that is given in the text is when being intoxicated, right? So a mind that is conscientious is a mind that does not guard against non-virtues. It is not involved with non-attachment, non-anger, non-ignorance, and also engage in laziness, or it doesn't rejoice in virtue. There is a definition in Minds and Mental Factors of being unconscientious, which I can't remember all the words, but it means that if the mind does not guard against contaminations, again, against virtue, like for example, when you're intoxicated, that can bring about a non-virtues, but still at the background, it seems that on account of the engaging mind, having taken the engaging vow and the engaging mind, on that account, you'll still be accumulating merit. It seems that this is what it's saying. So the engaging vow does not stay in our mind stream once it's cut from the root. I think that probably this is something that we need to maybe ask Geshe-la. So there are different things that happen to vows. So we take a vow. It could be that the vow is damaged, but we still have the vow in the mind stream. It could be that we have broken the vow, so the vow is still in a mind stream and it's irreparable. It could be that the vow is no longer in a mind stream, which means that it's a case of having been completely relinquished. So there are different forms, different things that can happen to the vow, and I'm not sure what will be the case with the engaging vow. So this is something that we have to ask Geshe-la. So for example, if you're a monastic, a monastic, and as monastics, we have to abstain from the 4 roots. So if you have done one of those things, which means that you've killed a human being intentionally, you've taken something that was not given to you and it is of value, you have created a split in the Sangha, and you have had sexual misconduct, sorry, not split in Sangha. No, it's something else, right? Stealing, killing, sexual misconduct. Okay, lying. Sorry, not a split in Sangha, but lying. You have had a big lie about your spiritual attainment, and you had sexual contact. You'd be doing one of those 4 roots. So at this point, the vow is, in most cases, it would be irreparable in your mind stream. So you still have it. It's not that you don't have it anymore. It's not that you've broken it and it's no longer there. It's damaged to the point in which it's irreparable in that life. But there's also another case of relinquishing the vow. At that point, the vow will be nullified, right? So if you've broken your vow, it's still there, but it's irreparable. So therefore, sometimes it says that even after that, you still continue to accumulate negativities. Anyway, what is non-conscientious? It is a non-guarding of the mind against afflictions due to attachment, hatred, ignorance, laziness, and it's non-cultivation of virtue. Thank you very much. That sounds like the description for Minds and Mental Factors. But we have half an hour left, and I just wanted to make sure that we finish today chapter number 1 and continue on. So let's look at I will put on the screen my notes.
Which is this the one that you put on Dropbox?
My notes?
Yeah.
No, but I can put it on the Dropbox. No, I think that often it's good. No, it's good for people to make their own notes and charts and so forth, because when you do it for yourself, then you have a better ability to assimilate the material, the information. You do your own work. You create new pathways in your mind and brain to understand it. If you just read somebody else's notes, then it's not as good. But I'm still going to make it available just for future reference. But I also encourage you to make your own notes and charts. So we started to look at the benefits of the engaging in aspiring man of enlightenment. So just a brief recap: the benefits of the aspiring man of enlightenment was, even in samsara, you accumulate merit, right? It was just a general benefit. Even while in samsara, you accumulate merit. And then it says, but it's unlike the that uninterrupted flow of merit that you will get from the engaging mind. So there's already kind of an assumption that something great is going to happen with the engaging mind. Then with the engaging mind, it was said that the benefit is that even when you're asleep or being unconscientious, there would be a flow of merit that will still ensue. So I'll put my notes. So the aspiring mind of enlightenment and the engaging mind of enlightenment are differentiated according to the benefit. So from the aspiring mind of enlightenment, one receives vast and great results, even while circling in samsara. So verse 17, I'm just going to read through verse 17. It says, although great fruits will arise in cyclic existence from the mind that wishes for enlightenment, an uninterrupted flow of merit will not arise, as in the case of the engaging mind. So we said that aspiring mind, great bonuses in samsara. Now with the engaging mind of enlightenment, one still accrues merit even while being asleep or being unconscientious. So that's to begin with, right? The benefits are quite, I think, clear from those two statements. Then Shantideva provides proofs for the benefits of the aspiring mind of enlightenment and proofs for the benefits of the engaging mind of enlightenment. And the proofs work in two ways. It says that first of all, we have a scriptural citation from the Buddha. Then it says that not only scriptural citation, we can also prove that logically. But it's actually quite interesting when you look at the logical proof that he provides. He said, because often in his logical proof, he says that my proof is that it says like that with respect to, in that text that the Buddha said, in that sutra that the Buddha taught. So if it's said like that in sutra, needless to say that with engaging mind of enlightenment, it would be greater. So it is like a logical proof, but it's still in some sense based on what the Buddha said. So it's interesting because I wonder if we look at our own personal approach to our personal practice, our day-to-day behavior, how much of it is based on having complete trust in what the Buddha taught? Right? How much of what we do is, for us, 100% true just because the Buddha said so? I mean, here Shantideva provides a proof for the benefits of aspiring and engaging mind of enlightenment, and the scriptural citation that he uses is because the Buddha said so.
That's based on the concept of faith.
Yeah, that's based on the concept of faith.
And I think within the Buddhist cultures, and within Christian cultures either, or with any strong religious culture that have been around for hundreds of years, faith becomes just an innate part of that culture.
Yeah.
Which, living here in Australia, no, we are not a strong spiritual tradition of any sort, and the concept of faith is just, you're joking. I don't think so. And so in some ways I think it's, but I think it is because the fact that it's been around for the Buddha's been around for so long, so many people have followed the path, so many people have gotten enlightened. We see people in this life who are following that same path, who are becoming enlightened. I mean, it's not blind faith. It's faith based on not only what my culture has adhered to the last hundreds of years, number of generations, but it's also what we actually see in our current spiritual traditions. Like somebody like His Holiness. If His Holiness says it, that's the way it is as far as I'm concerned, because I have total faith in him. Total. So
there are different types of faith. There is blind faith, but there is also faith that is born from knowledge or from understanding. So when you look at the beginning of, for example, the ornament for clear realization, there's a discussion of the authority of the teacher, the Buddha, and the logical means to prove that the Buddha was a valid being. So it's actually quite a big topic, looking at the proof that the Buddha was a valid being. So when you start thinking about it, and you prove to yourself, you think to yourself, then you use reasons to prove to yourself that the Buddha was a valid being, then you can also trust what the Buddha said. But still, with a trust, you still need to apply reasons and logic, because you need to look at the teachings that the Buddha gave and work up whether they're definitive, whether they're provisionals, what was the target audience of the teachings, do they have anything that contradicts them in reality, are they contradicted by reality? So there's still an assessment that you need to do, but still with some things, particularly with respect to the working of karma, it seems that our goal with approaching them would be to take them on face value, most of them because the Buddha said so. So anyway, just wanted to bring it up. Let's look at how it is proved, how the benefits are proved here. So verse 17 says that even in samsara, you will have great result. So we have a scriptural citation that is provided to us in the commentary in relation to verse 17. It was stated in the liberation of the superior Jampa. So if Jampa is here on the tute, then Jampa, you're superior, apparently. All right. So verse 17. Son of the lineage, it is like this. For example, the precious diamond, though broken, outshines the supreme ornament of gold and so forth, still keeps the name precious diamond and eliminates all poverty. Son of the lineage, likewise, the precious diamond of the mind generation, the mind of enlightenment, for omniscience, knowledge, even without significance, outshines the golden qualities of the hearers and self-liberators. It keeps the name of bodhisattvas and eliminates all the poverty of cyclic existence. As quoted, the great result arises while being in cyclic existence from the mind of wishing for enlightenment. A similar uninterrupted stream of merits as that which arises from the engaging mind does not arise. So we have a scriptural citation. But then there's also a logical approach to that. Sorry. The logical proof says, let's see if I can put it for you guys on the screen. All right, so logical proof says, great benefit because of limitless application to virtue, verses 21 and 22. So verses 21 and 22 give us the logic for the benefits of the aspiring mind. So to say, if even the thought to relieve sentient beings of merely a headache possesses the attitude to benefit and possesses boundless merit, then what need is there to mention the desire to dispel the boundless unhappiness of each and every sentient being and to accomplish boundless good qualities of every single one of them, right? So I think that we spoke about it before. Geshe-la kind of, I think that it spoke of a story in relation to that. But anyway, if you have a thought of just taking upon yourself the headache of everyone, and that was said to be in Sutra, you know, either telling about that daughter of a king, and there's an alternative version of the story about kind of a prince or a son of a merchant that got really upset with his dad and kicked him or something like that and sailed across the ocean to find treasures. Then for some reason, an iron wheel came down to his head and kind of was drilling into his head. He had a massive headache, or the princess had a massive headache in that alternative story. And then they thought, may by my headache, may I alleviate the headache of all other living beings. And through that, they were free from that. Through the great merit, they were free from that pain. That's the gist of that story. So if that story that is taken from the Buddha's writing is correct, then it is logical to think that the mind that aspires to alleviate all sentient beings from all of the suffering would be much greater. So, you know, so it's a logical proof, but it's still based on a story that is coming from the Buddhist scriptures.
The daughter is a name of a man.
No, there are different kind of, it seems that...
That's what I read, because I thought daughter, and I went back, the daughter is a name, like your Yagi.
Okay.
It's a name of a bloke.
All right, so the daughter is the name of a bloke. Well, yeah, but still, when Geshe-la was reading that, it kind of referred to a princess, but so,
Well,
yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I was
Anyway, I think that kind of could be either. Stephen's saying that we could use the same logic to prove the Bible. I suppose so, but I think that, you know, in this tradition, we said that don't trust anything that the Buddha said just because the Buddha said so. You still have to analyze it. However, it seems that at the end of the day, there would be some knowledge that you cannot really verify. Like, for example, the subtle working of karma. You can develop inferential cognition of belief that is based on belief in the scriptures that the Buddha gave. Scriptures that say that, for example, from generosity, resources, from ethics, good migration. So you can rely upon your trust in the sutra in order to realize the import of that statement, but it still be an inference of belief. That's with respect to very hidden matters. Anyway.
I always like to me, what the thought that keeps on, the cliche that keeps on coming to my mind is no gain, no pain, no gain. So, you know, with aspiring bodhicitta, it's easy to sit around and think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we had a fantastic government and it was responsible and everything like that. But, you know, and it's easy enough to do that. But until you actually get out there and lobby for that, that's when, you know, which can be quite difficult and challenging and expensive, etc. It's only that sort of stuff that could potentially create the change. And I think that's the same with engaging and inspiring. Engaging bodhicitta is hard work. It's not easy.
So it's like, stop whinging and do it.
Exactly. Precisely. Yeah. I mean, that's where the change is going to happen.
All right.
That's where the merit is going to occur. The real merit.
Cool. Let's look at the next benefit or next logical proof. There is no higher altruistic intention in verse 23. So it's still proving the benefits of the aspiring mind. So verse 20, did I say 26 or 23? 23. 23 says, what is such an altruistic intention as this? Do even fathers and mothers have it? Do the gods and sages, does even Brahma have it? It's actually quite nice because sometimes we say that the way that the Buddhas love us, the Buddha loves us, is much greater than the way that we love ourselves. Yeah. It's greater than the way that our mother and fathers love us. Now, in a sense that when we think of our own sense of self-concern, when you're a parent and you have concern for a child, it's most limited to this life. You know, protection from suffering or pain in this life, protecting from danger or misfortune in this life. Of course, some parents also, not the ones that are highly devoted, might think of future lifetimes. But in general, you'd say that our concern by and large is focused on this life, whereas Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that have developed the aspiring mind of enlightenment are concerned about the suffering in all lifetimes in samsara. So that's the highest type of concern. So then the next proof says sentient beings do not generate a concern even from themselves. Oh, okay. I jumped the gun. So it says, if those beings have not even dreamt before of such an attitude for their own welfare in their dreams, how can they generate it for the welfare of others? So these are the three logical proofs that are used in order to explain the benefits of the aspiring mind of enlightenment, right? So the benefits are quite a lot of good merit in samsara, even while in samsara. Let's look at an explanation of the reasons for having such great benefits for the engaging mind of enlightenment. So with the engaging mind of enlightenment, one still accrues merit even while being asleep or being unconscientious in verses 18 and 19. So it says, for one who has perfectly adopted this mind with a thought never to turn away for the sake of totally liberating the infinite realms of sentient beings, from that time onwards, even while asleep or lacking conscientiousness, a force of merit equal to the sky will continuously ensue. So I think that we did cover at some point that verse or that analogy that says that if the form of this engaging mind of enlightenment, or if the mind of enlightenment would take a physical form, it will completely fill the space in front of you or the sky and even go beyond that. That's a common verse that is quoted. Anyway, so there's a scriptural citation that proves that, and then a logical proof. So the scriptural citation was, it was stated in the sutra requested by Subahu. So verse 20 says, for the sake of those inclined towards the lower, this is taught along with the correctedness by the Tathagata himself in the sutra requested by Subahu. So in our commentary, let's look at the commentary. It's commentary to verse 20. Put it on the screen. Not this, sorry. All right. That it is valid that the engaging mind has this benefit was established by the Tathagata himself in the sutra requested by the Bodhisattva Subahu with reasoning. Why did he do this? It was for those sentient beings who are inclined to the lesser, to the Hinayana, such as a person whose here lineage is not definite, but who is afraid of accumulating vast merit, and thus they turn away from the Mahayana path and aspire to the hearer's enlightenment. It was to help them give up their inclination to the lesser so that they could be placed in the Mahayana. So there are different types of practitioners that engage the Hinayana or Mahayana with a different approach. There are those who are called definite in the lineage, which means that from the very get-go, from the very outset, they're either definite in the Mahayana lineage or they're definite in the Hinayana lineage, which means that they will have entered the respective paths, the Hinayana path or the Hinayana paths, and proceed along those paths. And then there are those who are not definite in the lineage, which means that the mind can change. So, for example, there could be someone that has entered into the Mahayana path, the path of accumulation. They have done that through generating uncontrived bodhicitta. They enter initially into the path of accumulation, the small part of the path of accumulation, and when they are approached by someone that dissuades them from continuing along that path, right? They tell them, why would you do it? It's so hard. You have to do it for 3 great countless eons. It's going to be easier if you attain the state of liberation for your own sake alone. You'll be able to eliminate your afflictions. You have great teachers in the Theravada or in the Hinayana. So then the person could change the mind. So in the sutra requested by Subahu, that particular case was addressed by the Buddha. So he spoke about the great benefits of the engaging mind in order to prevent such a person from relinquishing the mind of enlightenment and following the Hinayana path. So it seems that this is the scriptural citation that we use here to prove the benefits of the engaging mind of enlightenment. You will still continue to accumulate merit even while you're asleep and even when you're being reckless. So that's the scriptural citation, the sutra requested by Subahu. Then let's look at proving this with reasoning, logical proof. So verse 26 contains 2 proofs for the benefits of the engaging mind. It is the cause for the joy and happiness of all migrators, and it is the remedy for the suffering of sentient beings. So verse 26 says, how can I fathom the merits of this jewel mind, the cause of joy of all migrating beings? And you said panacea? Is that the right pronunciation? Panacea. Panacea for the suffering of sentient beings. So this is you could say, a logical proof for the benefits of the engaging mind. It is the cause of happiness and joy of all sentient beings, which means that as a bodhisattva, you're determined to free all sentient beings from suffering, right? You do that through thinking that I will lead them to the state of liberation, and even more that I will set all of them in a state of Buddha. In that sense, you are working in order to provide sentient beings with ultimate happiness and bliss, and to eliminate all of their suffering. So this proves the benefits of the engaging mind of enlightenment. It is the cause of joy of all migrating beings, and the panacea for the suffering of sentient beings. So then the next verse, 27, finishes off that list in saying, if the mere motivation of thought to benefit all beings is greater than making offerings to all the Buddhas, and that's according to the King of Concentration Sutra, what need is there to mention the practice aiming at attaining enlightenment for others' sake? So verse 27 says, if merely a benevolent intention excels venerating the Buddhas, and that's taken from the Sutra of the King of Concentration Sutra, then what need is there to mention striving to make all beings without exception happy? So that's, I guess, like a really good logical proof. So this is the section that I wanted to speak of today, to cover today, explaining the benefits of the aspiring and engaging man of enlightenment. I will put my tutorial notes on the Dropbox so you can also access it if it helps. Now, another thing that I wanted to do today, just to finish off chapter number 1, is to then look at verse 134. Verse 34, sorry. So verse 34, when we praise the person that has bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, we say that should you develop a harmful intent towards a bodhisattva, you accumulate this negativity that will cause you to dwell in the hells for as many moments, for in eons that equal the moments that you have engendered this harmful intention. Whereas if the opposite arises, if you develop a virtuous attitude towards that bodhisattva, you think of the good qualities, you have faith in that bodhisattvas, then you accumulate this incredible virtue. So we will cover something similar to that when we will look at the chapter on patience. At the beginning of the chapter of patience, there is that statement that refers to anger destroying roots of virtue. You know, looking at the drawbacks of anger, it says that this incredible amount of roots of virtue that you have accumulated painstakingly over eons will be instantly eliminated or destroyed in one moment of anger. So it's interesting to put what you have in the patience chapter and here at the end of the first chapter together. So here it says that you will accumulate negativities if you have a harmful intent towards a bodhisattva, and you would do it basically with anger, right? So often when we describe anger, a loose sense of describing anger is that it is a malice towards sentient beings. It is the intention to harm others. This is a loose way of describing anger. So here it says that if you have that malice, anger towards a bodhisattva, you will accumulate such a great negativity that your detention in hell would be for a very long time. In the 6th chapter, it says that you'll also be destroying roots of virtues that you have accumulated for so many eons. Right? So we have two things happening together here. One of them is that you're eliminating your own collection of virtue, accumulation of virtue, and you're also creating negativities. So in some sense, you can say that maybe, sorry, I'm not sure that I can continue with my line of thinking. I still need to think about it more, but later on we will have a look at that discussion that says that when Shantideva says that when you get angry at a bodhisattva, he refers to when a bodhisattva is getting angry at another bodhisattva. So then when you look at the illumination of the thought, which is Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation of Chandrakirti's supplement to the middle way, it breaks that down. It says, well, actually, you can look at different cases. You have a case in which a lower bodhisattva is getting angry at a higher bodhisattva.
Bodhisattvas get angry.
Yeah. So can bodhisattvas become angry? They can, but in early stage of the bodhisattva path. So once they once they, of course, enter into the path of seeing, they start to eliminate their anger.
And it's still called anger. It's not a lesser.
It's still called anger, but it is likely that it will not become manifest. They still have it in the mind stream, but it will no longer become manifest. It is likely that also anger will diminish as they progress along the path of accumulation, the path of preparation. But since it says that there are still occasions in which a lesser bodhisattva is getting angry at a higher bodhisattva, or a higher bodhisattva is getting angry at a lower bodhisattva, and there's this amount of accumulation of virtue that is being destroyed in those cases, either 100 eons worth of accumulation of roots of virtue, or thousands of eons worth of accumulation of virtue. And think about how much more will it apply to us. Now, if at least I personally haven't generated an uncontrived bodhicitta, it's like it's really dangerous. Often an advice that is given is that don't criticize others, don't get angry at others, because you do not know if that person in front of you is a bodhisattva. If you happen to be criticizing a bodhisattva, you'll be accumulating such a grave negativity. It's easier said than done, isn't it? We're so conditioned to criticizing others, getting angry at others. I mean, living in a community, it's pretty hard, don't you think? It's like we have constant situations where our buttons are pushed. We feel uncomfortable about a certain situation. People rub us the wrong way. We have people that we like in our community, people that we don't dislike in our community. We have ample opportunities for anger to arise. So it's really important to keep that in mind, right? And at least to try to do our best to arrest anger from arising. Of course, it's easier said than done, isn't it? We're so accustomed to anger. Yeah, we have to try. And the way to try is to remind ourselves of the drawbacks of anger, right? So how do you arrest anger? You first of all think of the drawbacks of anger, all the drawbacks of anger and the great benefits of patience. Also, you have to deal with the causes of anger, mental unhappiness. But when you are stopping your own mental happiness in order to prevent anger from arising, you have to remind yourself that anger destroys roots of virtue. Particularly if it's aimed at bodhisattvas, then you're in real serious problem. I hope Donald Trump is not a bodhisattva. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah. I mean, that would be not only getting angry with him, it's like, I think that so many of us think that he's a total fool. Yeah. Then we're in big trouble. Yeah. All right. So our session is up. We should show compassion for his ignorance. That's completely true. It's easier said than done, isn't it? It's like during the weekend, I found a new fetish. I saw a couple of 2 or 3 video clips of Trump and kind of just stupid stuff that he said recently, and kind of I thought it's totally hilarious. So when you find it hilarious, I think at least in my mind is this condescending attitude that I adopt towards him. So if he is a bodhisattva, it's pretty bad. But would a bodhisattva behave in this way? I don't know. Anyway, where are the prayers? Let's do some prayers in order to end this session. Prayer book. Okay. Thank you very much, people. And Gewadi Nyududa Lama Sangye Drugyune Dowa Chikya Malupa De Salagopa Sho Janchu Semcho Rinpoche Makepa Nanke Gyuchi Kyepa Nyampa Mepayang Gone Gondu Pewa Sho Kangri Rawe Kowe Shinkandi Pendan Dewa Malu Jungwene Chenre Ziwan Tenzing Yatsoi Shape Site Batu Tengyuchi Tup su jan shin jan gung gya we ten zin kyon pe we zo do po tse Chosun Kowele Mundudu Pahada Sodu Jegundu Shabden Shu. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your participation.
Thanks, Carson.
Thank you.
Thanks
Brad,
very much, Jackie, and everyone else. Thank you.
Evis, Chris.
Thanks, Carson.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Carson.
Thank you, Rebel Carson. Thank you very much.
Lost the man.